Joy, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Josephine and Mrs. Blondell and Anna Tukunda. It's been a while.
I know. So
it's been a very, very long time.
Good to see you.
Yes. So, guys,
Sorry about my background, by the way. I ran away from them, but they're still showing up.
That's part of it.
It's okay.
That's part of what we are discussing
We're going to meet
today.
you.
So it's amazing.
We're going to meet your entire family in the background, and so you just keep turning and saying, "That's my so and so, and that's so and so," and we're cool with that. So we're talking about work-life balance today. A common dilemma for many people who, in the quest to climb the organizational ladder, fall into the temptation of ignoring everything else that life has to offer. So, Joy, you are Florence described. Was it Florence or Anne described you as the definition of work-life balance? So we just want to understand what is your definition of work-life balance.
If I'm the definition of work-life balance, I think that's now a stretch. But I think my definition of work-life balance is getting to a point where you are comfortable with both, or you're not under pressure, and you're comfortable with both your work life and your family life, and that you're able to work them all out without really having to feel like you are disproportionately allocating time to one side of life and feeling guilty about the other. Of course, it's not an entirely perfect situation, but you get to a point where you now have to compromise certain things and say, what value is in it for me, and is it really going to take much of my time? And if it's going to take much of my time, how much of my mental stability is going to be affected by it? And if it's going to be affected, to what degree, and is there value in me allocating that much time? Am I getting the value out of it, either monetarily, or is it of value to me in a social way? Is it building me? Is it building my character? Is it building my career? Is it positively impacting my family? Is it something that I value in my principles and all those things? So for me, once I get to that point where I'm saying yes, 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 I think this is what I want. Yes, this is what I need. Yes, this is what I deserve. Then I feel like I've close to gotten to striking a balance between work and life.
I don't think that I've ever achieved work-life balance, and I don't think there's any such thing. So I'm curious to know about what Anne and Florence think.
Well, I guess for me, it's much easier because it's not like I don't have children, first of all. So it's much easier when it's just the two of you in the house. So you plan, everything you do. Like if I want to do, it's not like we sit down and separate even duties. So we just know that sometimes if it comes to like online shopping, I'm going to open up the account, I'm going to do the shopping. I just order things and they are delivered. If he happens to be around on the weekend, sometimes if I want him to help me, I target that Saturday, then get a time, and then the guys bring the stuff and we both carry them in, put them in the fridge, So we try to share duties as much as possible. But then again, I've been working from home for the past 2 years, remote working. So he wakes up, goes, I wake up, I sit on my desk, but of course I know that I have to work also like he does. Even if I don't get to travel, I just get up, it's 9 a.m., start my work day, finish at 5:30 p.m., and the work is done, it's over. And then I can think of, okay, now dinner things, what are we going to eat? Are we going to go, be lazy and call Papa John's? Because even, that's a thing, when you work from home, people think that you're just there to also cool.
Florence, when you were still working at your previous job before you started working from home most of the time, I know you did some other work out of home. What was that like? What did that balance look like? Was it there? Did it exist?
Actually, because I had a waitressing job. The others, I had like 2 volunteerships. Two charity organizations, and then I got work at another charity. So there was a mix of waitressing and then working. So like I had like 3-4 jobs in a week. 2 of them paid, 2 just voluntary. So that was crazy because when I was at the restaurant, then I would go back home like late, crazy hours. So that's why I was pushed into actually applying even for the population matters job that I got, which was full time. But before it was a bit crazy because I left work late, came back late when he was already home. And he knows how to cook. So that's beautiful. It's good to have a partner who understands your schedule. Yeah, it was crazy and I didn't like that. So there was really, I couldn't say you can achieve really a balance. You just have to, like Joy said, compromise.
Yeah. my life is very much similar to what Florence is saying, although I don't have a husband who cooks, but I'm working on it. So I work from home a lot. I'm a consultant, and so most days I am at home. And when I say I work from home a lot, maybe I'm not actually working. I'm very much a family person. That's what I should say. Very much. I think for me, family cheats the work a lot more than work cheats family, except on a few instances when you have to work. Maybe you have a work trip to take, and you have to now leave the entire family completely, let's say for 2 weeks, and you're out of the home and you're focusing on work. So that gets to happen. But my definition, if you ask me, it's how much level of priority you're willing to place as an individual. Are you the kind of person who's likely to prioritize work over family, or are you the kind who is going to prioritize family over work, or are you the one who's going to strike this equal balance? This is work, this is family. So I'm neither here nor there. I work when there is work to do, I'll do, then maybe not prioritize family. But as a consultant, I tend to prioritize family more. So for me, I'm happy, like Joy said, it's about also the level of comfort that you have as an individual. So it's not clear cut. I'm happy with how things are right now. If they tend to, but before in my previous life that you all guys knew, I wasn't, let's say I wasn't happy in the media.
I was going to ask you, and that was going to be my next question to all of you. You've all been in the newsroom, and we know how the hours are crazy. On average, how much time did you spend at the workplace?
I don't know.
On a normal day.
Go first.
I'll go first, since, well, by then I was single. My life was a newsroom. Like, even the night drivers knew, because I would start morning, so there was no time for relationships, like, seriously. I believe I spent like almost 4 years during my journalism without really a partner, you know. Well, a girl has to have some sex sometimes. But yeah, I spent all 4 years just abstaining and just free and just, you know, thinking work. I'll leave the newsroom late, like sometimes at 2 a.m., sometimes 3 a.m. Because I believed in my mind that, you know, I work best when everyone else has even disappeared. So I start, if I have like a feature that I'm going to work on, I start writing my script in different ways, change it, you know, just spice it up a bit. And there was that feeling. So yeah, my work and my life were practically living in the newsroom. And if I had a partner, they would have been getting in my way. That is the truth. Well, I had siblings, but I was staying alone. So I just know where they stay. They have their needs. Like, okay, what do you want? I just send them money. Thank God for technology. But otherwise, I was married to my work.
Can you imagine? It was crazy. It was crazy. You're still there, Josephine. Tell us, how are you managing? I'm like,
already, because go ahead, Josephine. We want to hear it.
I want to hear Joy's experience first, because she was
okay. I don't know if I should talk about the Uganda side or I should talk about the Kenya side. Because the Uganda side was crazy. The Uganda side was the one where I used to wake up at 4 because I was doing a morning show and I was half the time single. So I mean, waking up and doing that. So I actually had like, let's say from the time I got up, it was like from 4 a.m. to like 9 p.m. guys, because I used to do a morning show. And then after the morning show, maybe in between, of course, you'd have to sit back, review the show, how it's been like and all that. And then you now go ahead. Sometimes, because back then the station, I guess, was not as big as it is right now. So we used to double up as presenters and public relations people, where if there was a client that needed to be seen with the commercial guys, we would go along with them. So client ABC has said they're not signing a deal without Sean or Joy. So one of you has to come. So we go, you know. And then later on, maybe I would be sitting in for someone on the radio side, maybe Flavia Tumsime on the radio side. And so if I had to sit in for her, those weeks would be crazy, because I would leave NBS, go to Capital, then back to NBS for the evening news. And then maybe I would have like a gig in between there, you know, 24-hour individual economy.
Yeah.
So I would go do the gig. So by the time I get home, I'm like, let me put my feet down, take a shower, put my feet down. Before I know it, it's time to get up the next day. But it was fun. You know what, guys? I was young, so I didn't have any responsibility. Well, I had the responsibility of black tax. where you have to send money home at the end of every month and stuff like that. But it's when I moved here that, I felt like, oh, so people actually have 2 days off in a week. So people actually do stuff like this. It was like a shock. I'm like, you guys haven't taken leave in like 4 years. You guys are telling me I'm entitled to 25 days in a year.
Can you imagine?
And I was like, wow, now I'm finally having a schedule. But now when the babies started to come in, of course, I started a family here. The babies started to come in. I started to look at life differently, because with the first baby, I would say I worked all the way to the day before I gave birth, and if probably I didn't have those Braxton Hicks, I would still have gone to work that day. But I got those Braxton Hicks, and that's why I said, okay, now today I'm not going to work. But I would have worked up to the day. So, and then after I gave birth, that's when now, I started to feel like, okay, now something has to change. Responsibilities have come in. Yeah. And now I need to spend more time. I need to allocate time to the baby, to the husband, to myself, and then to work. So I had to prioritize which one comes first and then strike a balance. So now I started to look at my leave days differently. I started to look at my work differently. I now started to dedicate intentional time to certain things, but there's dedicating time to something, but then you're not really 100% into it. Now I started being intentional about those things, being 100% into something. If I didn't want to do it, I would straight up say no. So I actually started saying no to things after I had my first kid, because now, yes, the money is there, but how much time is it taking away from me that I can now say, okay, this time was worth taking away from me as opposed to spending an hour extra with my kid. Yeah. Then now when the second baby came in, I was like, I don't know if the newsroom, I think I needed a break at that time because there were so many things going on in my life. I think I had just been arrested in Uganda. Then I was released. I came back here. I don't know, before even a month ended, someone within my workspace decided that my car looked better on them than it did on me. So they stole my vehicle. And then I came up with so many allegations. We went to court. And because of that, I just felt like I was in a space where I needed a break to declutter. But then I was also thinking maybe I need to take on some other challenges as well. And so that stressful time came just about the right time for me to now take on a training, which ended up being a job with a UNDP project. And then that period gave me enough time to think, because now it was not the 6 or 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. kind of schedule. Mm-hmm. It was now 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Guys, once you taste that time schedule, there's no let me not say there's no going back, because people in the media might think that I'm not interested in taking on jobs again in the media. I am, but I think I'm in a space where I without having to sound very selfish, I'm in a space where I know what I want. I know how much time I want to dedicate to a certain thing. I'm very intentional. I'm so proud of myself, I'm so proud of my achievements. I celebrate every small win that I have. I think, like, I have time to think, guys. Before that schedule of 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., you get up, you go on assignment, you come back, you edit a story, then you write a script, then you start preparing for the 9 p.m. bulletin, and then you leave work after that. Now it's more like I get up, I have time to even creatively think about how differently I would want to do things. And I'm loving the space that I'm in, because I'm able to balance out things. Not perfectly, by the way, not perfectly. I'm so far from perfect. But it's so much easier that I look back at the time I was in the newsroom and I'm like, what was that?
Well, first of all, Joy,
Josephine,
you got me at the point where you said you don't know what 2 off days are, because that's crazy. I know that for a lot of people who are doing certain kinds of jobs, they don't have days off, which is wrong, really. How do you expect people to be productive when you're not giving them time to rest their bodies, catch up with family or whatever? But the newsroom it's a very it's a very special place. It's a very special place. So when people talk about work-life balance, the balance could be on the weekend when you have family, right? When you have family gatherings, but your phone is ringing. And every time your phone rings, that's a phone call, that's work. So it takes away even a bit from your mind, from what you've been thinking about. It's work. So I think that's why for me, work-life balance is not achievable. at this point in my life. And honestly, I don't know if it's possible to ever have a 50-50, unless you are your own boss, perhaps. But even guys who are their own bosses have to work even harder to actually bring the money in. So I find it very, very difficult to have. And yet a work-life balance should be the equal prioritization of both your career and your life.
I agree.
Speaking of life, guys, I wanted to ask, when you do at home, when you do things like drive your kids to and from school, is that work or is it life?
I don't know. Who pays you?
It's not work. It's actually, it becomes like part of your life, you know, like the life, how you get up, you brush your teeth, you know, I don't know, you take a shower and then you dress up, you go to work. I think taking kids to school is just part of the, it's like that kind of thing where you get up and it's just a part of you, and you have to do it until you can no longer do it. Maybe you have to do it until now you can start to put the kids on a bus to go to school. But I think it's not work. It's not work. It's like that thing you
I think it's
enjoy part of your routine.
Joy, let me ask you. Let me just ask Joy. If it's not work, why do you pay a nanny or a maid who is actually doing that work? Because then that's work for them. So I don't know. In my head, that's why it's difficult to say that 50-50 about work-life balance.
I'm going to give you my perspective, because the reason why I'm saying it's not work is, okay, fine, you do have a house help. She comes in and she's working. She's taking care of the kids. She's preparing them. She's doing all of that. But when I am doing it, it's my responsibility. I'm the parent of the child. And the reason why I'm not able to do all of the things the same way that maybe the house help, house manager, nanny is doing them is because I have work. So I'm trying to strike a balance to bring an income as a partner in the household, but at the same time being able to play my parental roles. So when I'm doing these parental roles, I don't have any excuse. I just have to do it. You know, it's just a part of the responsibility. But when you talk about bringing in the nanny, it's just so she can help you achieve your financial goals or your career goals, because at some point she's also looking to grow, and at some point you're also looking to grow. She's trying to achieve something, I'm trying to achieve something. So in that way, when it's me taking care of the kids, I don't look at it as as something I deserve to be paid for. No.
Yeah,
Florence,
Joy,
are you putting up your hand, or are you?
I want to ask Joy. Now we really have you, because you know the people, I feel like, you know, like I was reading this research, the people who are, you know, most stricken by work-life balance issues are those who are dual earner families, you know, which is your case, dual earner families. So both of you have jobs. So is there one whose job it is to exclusively manage the household? Or this is where the nanny comes in, because, you know, you're both dual earners, you're both doing this, but is there that, you know, so is there anyone whose job?
I want to look at it as like a three-way planning situation where let's say you will tell her what the kids need to eat for the entire day, for the entire week, maybe month. So she has a schedule that she follows. Like I have a schedule that I follow on a daily basis, and my husband has a schedule that he follows. So he knows when he is going to take care of the kids. He has that time in his own schedule. I have the time in my schedule. She, who spends maybe half the time with the kids, knows that when maybe we are out of the house, she needs to now do something that we are not able to do, that she wasn't doing when we are in the house. Because also when we are in the house, there are certain things that we don't expect her to do, you know, because looking at the kids, I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. Things like changing diapers and, I don't know, showering the kids every once in a while, feeding them every once in a while, clearing up their toys and things like that. Honestly, why would I put that burden on her when I'm here? I can do it, and I can do it without expecting anything in return. So it's about striking a balance and planning. I guess that's the key word.
So would you then say, I'm growing, Joy. Would you then say that you?
No, it's all
right. Like okay, this is like goes back to women. Would you say that, you know, women are often the default chore doers and child tenders, you know, just by default somehow? Even in a relationship that strives for egalitarianism, where there is a bit of equality, would you say we somehow end up being the default chore doers if there was no even maid or anything like that?
Should I be the one responding or Anna?
The question was yours, Joy.
No, it was to me, right?
You have another man.
Okay, guys, let me
everyone knows that for me children are work, so I would gladly get paid for it. So since I can't get paid, I get someone to do most of the work. I'm kidding, guys. I take care of my kids. But yeah, I also pay people to help me.
Okay, let me put it this way. Mrs. Blondell, when I was growing up, when we were growing up in our family, like we didn't have those chores that are specific to the male or female gender. And based on that, even when I guess we don't get to particularly choose partners, because guess what? There's this thing called love that is magical, and you end up with someone, it happens, you know. But there's some qualities that you would have seen in this person that you'd appreciate, you get. So when it comes to that by default, all certain chores that have to do with kids and all that is 100% or over 60% allocated to the female. I don't think that's so. I mean, based on how I was brought up, I think I saw my dad cook. I saw my dad do dishes, and my mom did just about the same thing. So there was nothing like that. So I expect nothing less from my partner. Yeah. So it has been, honestly, if there's anything, I think the best thing about having a partner who is understanding is the fact that they're able to allow you to grow your career while being a parent and a family person at the same time. If you have someone who is nothing like that, it's gonna be hard to even strike a balance when it comes to work life, balance. Yeah.
Thanks. That's
Okay. Anna, you done breathing joy? Can I turn the tables to you? I mean, Florence. Okay.
No, we cannot grill you.
No. I had a question for you. I think you guys, all three of you, work from home mostly, right?
Now,
very least you. Don't worry, and you didn't miss much. That's going to relate to what I want you to talk about next. When COVID-19 happened, it's given people more time at home than they've had in the last many years. But still, even working from home does not guarantee that they're doing or having this whole work-life balance situation. If you're not clear about what the intention is, and Joe, you spoke about intention, chances are high you'll be physically at home, but mentally at work all day, all evening, or physically and mentally at home, and your work suffers. So something is going to suffer. How do you guys advise anyone getting into this kind of working world that we're in now, this virtual, the office world? How do you advise them to manage? And Florence, I'm going to start with you because I want to give Joy some time to, catch her breath. And
yeah, she has a lot to say. I told you Joy is going to be magical for this because so I'll be brief. Yes, balancing, from home. Like I said, you just have to be disciplined. You have to respect your hours. You have to respect your job. You have to respect your schedule. So you have to know. My work starts at 9 and that's it. But the beauty about working from home actually is that with my bosses, we could agree, like, Florence, do you prefer to start at 10 or at 9? Or do you prefer to start at 8? So I was like, no, 9 is fine. Let's do the 9 to 5:30, and that's it. I know when my lunch break comes, I'm going to do that. And sometimes I just go for a run, I come back. So if I decide, there was a time I was like, okay, exercise during my lunch break. So I just go take my walk or do a run, come back, sit. And I tell him, I've gone out just in case you call accidentally and think that I'm on my table. I'm going to take my exercise, I'm going to take my run, and then I'll come back. And then sometimes if I'm home and I'm a bit bored, because within the area there's a cafe, so I just tell my boss, you know what, now I'm going to switch to a cafe for at least 2 hours, have a coffee while I work, and then I'll go back to the house. So if you're going to call. But of course we have the scheduled, weekly calls, which has to be a video. That one I know he's going to find me, obviously, when I'm home, steady, in a good environment, stable internet, and then we'll talk. So somehow you get to manage, and you know what you need, to work with. Obviously you must have a laptop, internet, which is really working, because there's no way you can really work.
You can't complain really about internet, Florence. You can't. You really cannot.
That's allowed.
Yeah, that good has been steady. Although during this COVID era, everyone is home using the internet, so somehow it gets affected. But yeah, so yeah, I feel like it's doable. You just have to get into it and be disciplined, like the way you go to work. So you have to keep up with that schedule. Wake up, have your shower, have your tea. If you usually have tea, if you go to the office, come back, sit, and start working. You get into it. I was afraid at first, because even during my interview, they asked me, "Are you sure you can work from home?" Now this is someone who has been working in the newsroom. Wake up, take your border, go to work, sit in, and But yes, it's actually quite doable. So I found it interesting, and I feel like, wow, although I feel like it added that extra kilogram or 5.
Oh, Lord Jesus. Florence, shut up, please. Stop So first of all, you talk about the internet, then you're talking about added kilograms. I feel
I
like you're insulting the rest of us.
Talk about
And
working from home.
please,
I mean, the
I
distance between
know.
the fridge and where she
What?
sits.
And what's it been like for you working from home and trying to have that balance? What would you tell somebody to do?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
not the
Anne's
best
frozen.
person to I'm not the best person to give a word of advice, because my schedule, unlike Florence, is more laissez-faire. Like I don't have a lot of structure going on like yours. So I tend to work when there's a lot of work, when there are deadlines, and then I sit down. No matter which child is crying, I tell them take them. I don't know where, someone take them away, and then I'll work. But many other times it's blurry. Sometimes you're working, but you're also keeping an eye on the children. You're working on your desk, but you also know that it's time for someone. Let me ask someone to give the baby milk or change the baby. So it's much easier. It's much better. So working from home gives a lot of flexibility to to work and life sort of merge into each other and flow, and it's fluid and it's fun, except that I don't think it's sustainable unless you really have structure like Florence. Then you can make enough money, because if you're going to keep looking at the children and you're doing deep work, if you have to do like deep serious writing work, you can't manage when you have children and other interruptions going on. But for not from if when I have a regular job, there are months or a year when I find that I have to go into office every day. Then I find it helpful to leave work at work. If with technology, you find that it's easy to take work home because you're always checking emails, replying to emails, taking phone calls from colleagues. When I have a full-time job, ever since I left the media, the newsroom, I leave work most of the time at work. I will not check office email. I will not during the weekends and all that, unless there is something that is urgent, maybe like planning a big event and you need to finish. Then they are work life rather. I don't know what if work is not life. Then they are home, things have to wait. I will work through the night, through the weekend, and so really for me it's about finding your comfort zone and feeling. You have to acknowledge that you're in the right place. You're happy with yourself where you are and how you're working.
Okay, Joy.
I think I agree with Anne, because in so many ways, let me put it this way: before COVID, maybe half of my work required travel. Then COVID happened, and then now everything just flipped to the other side. So if, say, I used to have 2 days at home, now it's the other way around. I probably will go out in a week twice, and then the rest of the time I am working from home. So, and also of course my work has changed, because before COVID, let's say maybe a year before COVID, I had to wind up the project that I was doing that was attached to the UNDP. And then now I had to transition back into media, which is doing freelance correspondence for Deutsche Welle for the Business Africa show. And then in addition to that, I'm doing strategic communication. And so having these two roles that I was playing meant that I had to now allocate time specifically for the journalistic side of me, and then allocate time to the strategic side of me. What I tried to do is try to see if I could merge two things at the same time. So say if I have to step out of the house and I have to cover a story, I know that I'm going to go do the story, maybe for so many hours. And then after that, I could probably chip in a meeting or 3, 4, 5, bundle up everything and then try to work it out and say by maybe 6 p.m. I need to be back home. And now I'm really trying to put as much time into doing so many things as opposed to before, where I felt like, I could do that while I'm traveling, or I could do this while I'm doing that and all that. Because now you're in an environment where there are kids. And so you have to compartmentalize yourself and say, now, I think between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. when the kids are asleep, I can get up and do something. Then between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. now I can have time with them. Then between this time and that time, I can try to also accomplish another task that is work related. So you have to basically compartmentalize yourself to be able to achieve not 100% results, but at least achieve
The most
something
that you can.
that is close to satisfactory as well. Yeah.
I think the thing that you've said, I think twice now, and that's very interesting for me, but also very true, is being intentional about it. So if
Yeah.
you're not intentional about it, everything else is going to be a
Yes.
distraction. But for me, even just from working outside of the COVID era where we're now working from home, just in general life, I think one of the ways to get some semblance of balance between those two is to do a job that you actually love. And I know that it comes from a privileged place to say that or whatever, but it is important. If you don't like the job that you do, if you hate
Absolutely.
waking up to doing the thing, it's going to affect your working, it's going to affect the people you work with. I mean, you can only fake it for so long before everything else in your life, gets affected. But the other thing for me is social media. I
Yeah.
find that social media has, in a certain kind of way, become work as well. So while it used to be at the beginning some relaxation thing, catch up with your friends, I don't know, do what, now it's a whole marketplace, it's a whole work environment that can be as toxic as the office environment that you're running away from. So I think it's important to to unplug from social media every so often.
Yeah.
And then the thing that I find very, very, I've never understood it, is people don't take leave. And not just for the companies where leave is not an option, but even for companies where it is an option, people choose not to take leave. And if they take leave, then you're going to see them hanging around the office. I'm thinking, take leave and actually rest or participate in life outside the office. I keep wanting to walk to people and say, give me your leave days, please give them to me, because I can find something, I don't know.
Yeah.
But then you also spoke about being intentional, and I agree. It is very wise to just take time and decide to shut down from work, or to just, same thing even when you're at work. If your mind is at home, you're not going to actually participate at work. So you need to be able to do both and shut down. But then the other thing is also setting boundaries and actually knowing. And Joy, you mentioned that about saying no. And I think
Yeah.
it took me having a child to actually now be able to say, no, I'm not going to do that, or no, I'm not going to work beyond this point. You're at home and you see an email from the office at 10 p.m. Just that email in your personal time just takes you back to work. Emotionally, you're at work. Mentally, you're at
Right.
work. You're not participating in life that's actually there. So, do you guys have anything else to add before we wrap up?
I think that, you talked about social media, and I was actually drawn to it because, like you said, people need to take leave. Even social media, you need to take leave from it. You could just say, I'll only go there when I have to. But if I spend a lot of my hours on it, it can be time consuming, it can be pressurizing, it can be depressing as well, because you feel like there's so much of achievement going on people's timelines. And when you make a comparison
On
to
Joy's
that,
timelines.
yes. I don't want to say, well, I don't know what's happening in
How you
people's
make
lives.
us
So
feel?
I don't want to be judgmental, but sometimes it can be depressing because there's so much going on there. People putting out the best versions of themselves. And so
Yeah,
a lot of times people can,
we all have a question. Where was that beach where you were? Because that was very
You
distracting.
know,
It made
oh
us all
my
feel
God.
inadequate.
Do you
It made us
see?
feel like we've not
I watched
achieved.
the
So
whole 40
you've
minutes.
broken us
Tube.
up, and we want to know, you know.
You guys,
But yeah, you
I
were
went
saying.
to a place called Diani. The first time I went there, I guess
Oh,
I didn't get to
Dini.
see as much. We went for a wedding, and then we were all in the same setup and all that. It was a beach wedding the first time, but it was still beautiful. Now this time, it was like bundling up work with, is it like work and holiday or work and rest work?
Work
I
life.
don't even know if I worked, by the way, but I did. I did work. I did work. But yes, I mean, it was such a refreshing thing or a refreshing place to be at. You guys should go there. Let me not sound like I'm
It
advertising.
suits you.
Please
It
go to
really,
the
really
end.
suits
That's all I'm
you.
going to say. But yeah, back to it. Social media can be so time consuming and distracting and depressing because sometimes you feel like, oh, you know what, maybe I'm not doing enough, or maybe, so take a break also from social media. But also social media can be a place that makes you money. So depending on what you're doing there, I've made money on social media. I'm making money on social media. So I'm not going to complain much about social media because it's also a revenue stream for me. So I think that you just need to know what you want out of it. If you want to go there and say, guys, let me showcase my pictures. This is what I had for breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's fine. It's your life. Do it.
Memes,
But I think
like
it would also add more value if there was money coming through social
Yeah,
media.
that's true.
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
true.
Yeah, and that's the
Let's
thing,
fully
even on social media,
utilize the
because I was going to
status.
say, because sometimes some of us are on social media because it's part of our jobs, digital
Yeah.
marketing, it's now a thing, and organizations, if they hire you, even if you're a campaigner, a comms person, sometimes you have to end up being on social media. So you manage your accounts sometimes through so people can see you online and think that you're just there and they send you messages, but when you're working, so
Yeah.
there is that as well. So sometimes I'm on social media, but I'm just working, like posting stuff for like an organization's account, and now I'm working for In Our World.
Yeah.
So I just go to that Facebook page for In Our World, and sometimes I even ignore to go to my own profile, but still people see that you're online and they think, you're just there doing nothing. But yeah, we are working.
Right.
So it's good.
Guys, just some quick comments from social media. So you have Palito says the three wise women and Joy, a bit late to join the conversation, but I'm here. Andrew says the gladiators of journalism. Joanne says, wow, that was crazy. And I think she was referring to the time we're speaking about our work hours as journalists, what you were sharing, Joy. Palito says boundaries are one thing, communicating them is another. Both are important. Totally agree with the need for boundaries. You have to be intentional. Rose says work-life balance is a privilege for most. Fiona says it's very true. It's all about having an understanding, a partner that is understanding. And then, oh Lord Jesus, Mark Patrick.
What's that that you can't
Where
read?
is a man's time here? Because it appears like once the children come in, then time is dedicated to work.
The time for the men is gone.
Or let me put it this way: where is the time for the relationship?
You know what I've seen? There was a research which was made that usually
answer that.
usually this affects relationships, like romantic relationships are really affected with this. So, but yes, like Joy said, you just have to balance. Well, I don't use the word balance. There's an imbalance, fine. So you have to embrace the imbalance, and within that imbalance, you find ways of working out even your romantic relationship. You get some time. Joy, when you went to the beach, I know you went to work, but you still went with your darling.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, I did.
So there's that time. Like sometimes I went to Nigeria and I carried my husband with me. Because he had never been, to Nigeria. So I told him, get a holiday break, get your leave days from work, and let's go to, I know I'm going to work, but we should also have some time. So I packed him with me. Even when I was coming to Kenya to cover a conference, I was like, well, honey, would you like to come with me? So he got days off work.
And I got to meet him as well.
Yeah, exactly. So we ended up, when there was a weekend, in the evening, we made sure we had dinner together. On the weekend, we said, okay, let's go to Amboseli, see some wildlife. So you have to, just how it is. Of course, the relationship is not going to be romance all the time. But there are sometimes, you create that. If you're going somewhere, you say, oh, you want to come with me to this? He was going to Ireland one time, and I was like, oh, I've never been to. Like, I get days off work. I was like, no, I work from home. So as long as there's internet, I can stay in the hotel and start working. So I didn't even ask for an off day of work. So we just went to Ireland, and that's it. I was in my hotel like I'm now, and I was working. He came back home. We went out, and then we did our thing. Yeah.
I think men need to do this more often. Take your wives once in a while for those many workshops that are endless. Please, once in a while, let them meet your work colleagues, and go with them. Huh?
Yeah, like that.
Go with them, not just Joy and
yeah.
Yeah, but honestly, the truth is, it's when it comes to time, relationship, it's very hard, you guys. Especially when there are kids involved. But you just have to sacrifice. That's the time where the word sacrifice takes on a whole new meaning, because now you have to create that time, and it can't be one way. Nothing works one way. It has to be two way. If it's one way, it's half the time never going to work. So two-way traffic. I can't be the person sacrificing time. He can't be the person sacrificing time. So there has to be a way in which things balance out for it to be able to work out. Then you have to also know, okay, if there are kids involved, where are they going to be when you take time out, if you're going on a date, or even it could just be dinner in the house, especially during this period where being frugal with your monies is something that you have to consider. Yeah. You could just make him a meal, plan a movie in the house, watch the movie, and just have a good time at home. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But Florence is having a good time in Kingston, so that too
Well,
works.
now we are locked in the hotel.
Florence, for the next episode, if you're still there, we are going to demand that the whole show you speak in a Jamaican accent.
Oh,
But
one.
That said, I think one of the key things that's come out for me has been the intentionality behind making the time for both of these aspects. And again, in response to the question that Mark asked, if you're not intentional, that's when it becomes a woman's place is this, a man's place is this, and then that whole exchange starts to come in and destroys what would ideally or otherwise be a good relationship that both of you can take from. So Joy, it's been great to have you. Thank you for giving us an hour of your time. We appreciate it.
This was short.
Sure.
It's an hour. Don't worry, you'll be back. There's a conversation we started to touch on, so you must come back for it. But it's been great to have you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome having a chat with you and seeing you, especially Josephine Manang. It's like I get to see her only online. At least Anne, I can have her on the side. I can disturb Mrs. Blondell on the side. But then, you are like a busy bee. I don't know.
Twitter. We're on Twitter. We're not on Twitter.
Okay. On Twitter.
I follow your banter with different
Twitter
people
is like
on
a
Twitter.
battlefield. Twitter is a battlefield. That's why you go
Twitter.
blazing.
How do you go on someone's Twitter thing?
Oh my
So
God.
from Uganda, we'd like to say thanks once again, Joy. Greet the people of Kenya for us. Florence, greet the people in your house for us, since we clearly know you're not allowed to leave your house yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, take care, guys, and thanks for everybody who's been watching us online. Yes, Florence, sorry.
The usual. Yes. Follow us. Oh, by the way, I've seen Catherine Kemigisha saying, well done, ladies. Thanks for the chat. I keep telling Anna a podcast version of this would be great. Yes, podcast.
Yes, and I'm
thinking about. We shall do. So guys, follow Joy Doreen Bira. She is amazing on Instagram. There's so many things she puts up, and get buried into that. So follow us.
Thank you.
Yeah, Joy, this tourism thing you're doing, the interviews.
Yes.
Do you want to talk to us briefly about that?
So basically it's not exactly tourism. So they're like different conversations that I have monetized. Can I go ahead and say my kalango here?
Yes.
Okay, there are different conversations I've monetized, but with a goal of making sure that they impact people's lives. So there's so many things during this period that I noticed that people didn't know, and they came from the pre-COVID period where people did not really understand certain things, like when you want to be a journalist, what skills do you need to have? When you want to be a digital influencer, what skills do you need to have? So I go out and I look for these brands or these people, these companies that I think that would add value to a conversation like this, and then I monetize those conversations. And so this one about tourism was not monetized, but it was basically about informing people what they need to know when they're traveling. What do they need to know about travel? Because as Africans, we tend not to travel much. We have so much in our countries, but we don't get to see it because we have this perception that going to these beaches and national parks is something for international tourists. That's changing, but still people need to know how they need to go about it. When do you get the best rates? How do you go to your destination, your favorite destination? Just having conversations that would impact people's lives. So when they're planning to do something, applying for a job or anything, they know how to go about it. Yeah.
I think that's brilliant, Joy.
Thank you so much.
One time, I won't go into this, but one time she brought Chandira, life-changing stories. Talked about her addiction and all that. Then there was APAS. Then there was that guy who speaks. Okay, I'll stop. I stalk her sometimes. So sometimes I miss the live show and then I just catch up on the IGTV. So go catch up on the IGTV. Everything is there. And follow us as usual, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And we'll see you next weekend, guys. Bye-bye. It was amazing.
Bye.